Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris, along with you on your Friday here. Heading out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, welcoming in from Six Previews, Brett Ciancia, joining us here on this Friday. Brett, first of all, appreciate you taking your time for us this morning. Talking about South Carolina first here. We've talked all week, 13th in the AP poll. You know, obviously a lot of people think highly of them, but plenty of people like Brett McMurphy, Reese Davis didn't even have them ranked. Where do you view and where does South Carolina fall for you as we're 2 weeks away from the season starting?
Hey, well, thanks for having me on. It's a busy time of year. It's magazine season. We have the 14th annual Six Previews magazine going out, and you know, everyone's optimistic this time of year. I think it's two parts. Last year's special season for South Carolina, they were one of the hottest teams in the country last November. People were stumping for them for the playoff, and rightfully so. They went out and beat Clemson, a huge achievement for the program. But looking forward to 2025, it's going to be tough to repeat for me. I'm more in that Brett McMurphy, Reese Davis camp. You know, it's such a deep conference. I have so much respect for this league that when you sign a top 25 recruiting class, it's not even keeping up with the Joneses down here. It's unbelievable. So just the sheer talent in this conference finds me fading South Carolina a little bit. I love that quarterback with Lenora Sellers. I love what you have there. But replacing a lot of stars. Rocket Sanders, the 1,000-yard back, is gone. A lot of the interior defensive line is gone. The Nagurski winner there is gone. So questions. But, you know, South Carolina is going to be a tough out, and it's just such a deep conference.
Hey, Brett, it's Wes. Appreciate you hopping on, man. Congrats on the magazine, you know, coming out again this year. And let's keep it right there with the SEC. Who do you have as the favorites this year? And then, you know, maybe who do you have kind of maybe surprising or just being a little bit better than the average person thinks?
Yeah, well, appreciate that hype for the magazine. It's I have Texas and Alabama playing in Atlanta. I know a lot of people will go Georgia there, but what we have in Alabama, I think, is being overlooked. They're still number one in the country in the 5-year recruiting average. They have the most 5-stars on their 2-deep. I put out my advanced rosters this week. 13 5-stars on their 2-deep. That's probably more than the whole ACC has combined. So they're extremely talented over at Alabama. And I like their move bringing Ryan Grubb. He was the offensive mastermind behind Washington's run with Michael Penix, along with DeBoer. So now you're getting the real DeBoer experience. It's year 2. I think it's one of the best teams in the country. So I have them playing Texas in Atlanta. And then for a surprise team, I'll give you 2, and they might be tempered by their hard schedules, but I like what's happening in Florida and Oklahoma. I think with Billy Napier, it goes to show you how quickly a program can change in a few months. They wanted him out of town in November. He goes out, he wins a couple games, gets everybody to come back to Gainesville for 25, and now they're a really strong team. And same with Oklahoma. I think they repaired their offensive problem by bringing in John Mateer from Washington State with his coordinator, with his young ace coordinator. So 2 really, really strong teams. But look at those schedules, guys. It's an absolute gauntlet. They both face 7 ranked teams. I mean, you got some teams in the Big Ten that are playing too. So it's just a whole different beast down here in the SEC.
Brett, let's go to the other side of that. So you mentioned some teams that you're maybe high on to exceed expectations. Are there any teams out there that you're not as much of a believer in that maybe you're getting some preseason hype? You can say that for the SEC, but expand it out nationally if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you one here in the SEC, and that's Tennessee. I came into this preview magazine process. It's a one-man show. I do all 68 teams. And for Tennessee, what I thought was going to be the storyline was their offensive line changing, and maybe if they can get more vertical passing. And then all of a sudden the Nico drama hits. And now you just have an offense totally broken down. It's going to be 10 new starters on this offense. So much change on that side of the ball. So I'm fading Tennessee in the SEC. But on the national scale, I'll say this. I'm not making many friends in Champaign, Illinois this year because they're coming in as one of the preseason darlings. I saw them number 12 in the AP poll. And again, special year for them last year. South Carolina fans got to see it up close in the bowl game. It was a solid coaching job by Brett Bielema, but I think they kind of hit their ceiling last year with this roster. My advanced numbers, my stats, they don't look like a top 10 team at all. In fact, my numbers had them 35th in the country last year, 32nd this year. It's nowhere close to where they are 12th in the AP. So I have them down at 7-5 for the year, nowhere near this dark horse talk that we're hearing.
And we're talking to Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Let's go back to South Carolina for a second here. You mentioned that you're on your profile. It mentions you're a Heisman voter, and Sellers is somebody that's getting a lot of Heisman hype in this offseason. What would a Heisman Trophy-like season look like for the North Sellers? Maybe not necessarily just stats, but as far as moments and things that he would need to accomplish to warrant that in your eyes.
Yeah, well, unfortunately with the award, it really comes down to a lot of teams that are on playoff contending teams. That's just how it's been. That just means you're in bigger moments. I know last year might have been the exception with Travis Hunter, but for the most part, these are teams that into November, they are in top 10 games. They're in conference championships. Just they have the national eye on them. So I think for Lenora Sellers, and look, he's electric. I love watching him. He's already done it last year. If he can put together more of those highlight plays, but more importantly, if South Carolina as a team is in the SEC hunt there in November, something like that, and they have huge moments against, say he goes off against Oklahoma and Alabama, or in Death Valley at LSU or in College Station. So he's got plenty of national stages there. Part of it is a team award. You're gonna have, you're not gonna win it on a 4-8 or a 5-7 team. You got to win some of these ball games and be in the top 25 and be in the SEC race. So. But on an individual level, he's certainly got it. I mean, he's electric. He's going to get you not 1,000 yards, but maybe 500 yards rushing, key spots, key third down scrambles, efficient passing the ball. So yeah, he's definitely a candidate, and I think you see that reflected on the Heisman odds there. It's really a deep field this year, but he's got his name in the ring.
Hey, Brett, I was looking through the magazine before we came on, and was kind of looking for some South Carolina specific things. If I'm reading this right, it looks like your metrics have South Carolina pretty high up there in terms of player development over the last few years. I think 6th in the country. What can you tell us about that and just kind of what goes into that? And then, if you will, what are some other just kind of unique things you have going on with the magazine that people might like?
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing up the player development. I think that's key because a lot of people will cover recruiting, and that's certainly important. That's the backbone of a program, but they might stop there. I think you got to have the recruiting, and then what else happens on those 4 years on campus? You got to have coaching schemes that work. You got to recruit to your schemes, and then you got to develop the talent. You got to develop your players and send them to the pros. So what that number does is it compares South Carolina's recruiting rankings on paper from the high school ranks, and then compares it to actual NFL draft output. And you're seeing that the staff with Shane Beamer, they're churning out pros above expectation. So excellent job with development there. I'll say that when I first started Pick Six Previews, it was kind of the opposite with South Carolina. They were on the bad end of that formula. So great job by flipping the script and getting them into the pros. Some other unique things. Well, I have my game grader formula. It sounds nerdy, but it's just a numerical way to grade these teams. And I think what people like about my magazine is it's a mix of numbers and also narrative. I mean, I'm able to put it into words, no acronyms. It's all color-coded for the stats. It's easy to access, easy to read. So that's good. One new thing I put in there this year is everyone knows high school recruiting and transfer recruiting, but I put a bar graph in there for mock NFL draft picks. So you want to see where all these future pros are. So I know it's early for a mock draft, but you can clearly see what schools have the most pros for next year or projected pros for next year. So, yeah, all kinds of stuff. Go check it out, pick6previews.com. We got samples up there shipping out next day, so you get the hard copy right away. But now, thanks for plugging that. I appreciate it.
Brett, a couple more minutes here. And so just obviously you mentioned earlier that you are not as high on South Carolina with your data, with your research than some others. However, if you look back a few years since you've been doing this, are there any trends that you can identify for maybe what teams did or maybe how they were able to exceed expectations? Maybe would it be, having a quarterback like a Lenora Sellers who can kind of carry a team? Are there any trends you've identified when that happens?
Well, yeah, recruiting's huge. And now this transfer portal era, transfers are huge. One thing, talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, it's player retention. It used to be they talk about how hard recruiting is. Now they say the first people they're recruiting are their own players. They need to go re-recruit the whole starting lineup every December just to try and keep them in the building. It's unbelievable. So I would say player retention is huge. I like looking at coaching stability and coordinator stability because some of these programs where they're hiring, firing, it just doesn't work out. You want to give it time to build. South Carolina has done that with Beamer. And then coordinator stability. Clayton White, one of the best in the country, so underrated. no one talks about him in discussions of defensive coordinators, but he continues to stack top 25 caliber defenses. Last year, no different. They were number 13 in the country for me on defense. So I think a lot of that, I mean, recruiting, transfers, player retention, and then coordinator coach stability. So that's how I'd answer that question. But so much goes into it. It's really a holistic approach to try and preview these teams anymore with all the player movement. But I think we accomplished that here in the magazine.
Got about 60 more seconds here before we have to run into our break. But in the past 20 years, the national champion has been ranked in the top 7 of the AP poll 18 out of 20 times. You see that being the case once again this year?
Yeah, I do. Now, it's a crowded field at the top, but those are your top brands. I mean, you have superpower recruiters with Bama, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State. You can even call Oregon a powerhouse recruiter. And then you've got a veteran team with Penn State that I think could really make a run, as well as, I hate to say here on Carolina radio, but Clemson. They fit the mold of a national champion. All those returning starters, all those future NFL draft picks. They're number 2 in the 2026 mock NFL draft, number of prospects. So it's a pro caliber team at Clemson. So, yeah, it's a mix of these super recruiters and then 2 veteran teams, Penn State and Clemson. So I think the champ is coming from that pack of teams.
Well, it should be a fun season ahead, Brett. We appreciate your hard work on the Preview Magazine and can't wait to see what unfolds here starting in a couple weeks.
Oh, absolutely. Best time of year, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Again, Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews there joining us on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour. It's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris on your Friday on the Game.